Okay, down in this old mine right here dating back to the 1880s. And this was a slope mine on the big seam, which would be the red ore right there. And this was a pretty thick ore seam. For this mine, it was averaged about between 20 and 25 feet in some areas in thickness. And of course, red ore was used as one of the minerals in the blast furnaces to make pig iron. But that is a look down into one of the lower work headers, and that breakthrough beyond goes to another work header, and it'll just keep going and going and going and going all the way to the water line. So anyway, these upper sections here date back to the late 1880s, 1890s, all the way up into the early 1900s. And these are some of the wooden timber, the timber supports for the roof. You can see there's some of them right there are still in place. So, and this section right here, might not be able to tell, but this is where the minecart tracks were, the rails, tramway rails. And that's just two small breakthroughs. That's about a 15-foot drop down to the next section. So anyway, going to push on to the main slope and just take a look at some of the old work headers right here. And right there. So we'll head on to the main slope, which is directly ahead. Okay, so this is the main slope of this old mine right here. And this mine was opened in the late 1880s. And it's stayed in operation up into the late 1950s, early 60s. So the steel I-beam supports were put in the late 20s. Before 1930, you have the electrical lines. And so this was put in here for, of course, roof support integrity. This big red wall right here is the red ore seam, which averages about 22 to 25 feet in thickness. This red ore was used in the local blast furnaces in the Birmingham district. So this mine stayed in operation, like I said, all the way up into the late 1950s, early 1960s. And this is a deep, deep slope mine. Went down over 1,500 to 2,000 feet in depth. And that is looking straight down. So it's a pretty good down angle. About 17, 18 degrees down angle. So you definitely got to watch where you step. But anyway, just going to be checking out some of the old work headers and of this mine, and proceeding on the way down, probably be staying to the left of the slope. So anyway, we'll just start heading on down and making our way off to the left here. Okay, so this is one of the old work headers. in this mine. These work headers date back to circa 1900, 1910. So you can see the slope right there with the steel I-beams. And back in the early 1900s, they had a process called skip mining, skip cars. Underneath all this, had a tramway rail that would come out just above the slope, and they had what was called a self-acting tipple. And the miner would push over the loaded mine cart onto this self-acting tipple, and the contents would dump down into the skip car. When the skip car was loaded, it was hoisted all the way to the surface, up to loading tipple. The ore contents were dumped out of the skip car, and it went through a gyratory ore crusher. Once it was crushed, it was deposited in waiting rail cars, open rail cars. So they had quite a process of mining, very ingenious back then. But anyway, this is one of the old work headers, and this whole section right here is the ore seam right here. And right there where the light is, you can see those are drill marks. They were always drilling up. So they reached the end of the ore where the shale is. So, but in some cases, in this one right here, that's about a 25-foot drop down. And you can see the ore seam extends up about a good 25 to 30 feet. There's some more drill marks. So it's just like a big amphitheater down here, a big bowl. So it just tells you how much they mined the ore out of these early work headers. And most of this stuff was done with pneumatic drills, picks, dynamite. These guys just had carbide lights. None of the stuff like it's being seen here in this video with all this bright light. So a lot of it was working in just semi-darkness. It's incredible fortitude these miners had. But anyway, we're going to make our way down and just proceed through the breakthroughs, just looking at some of the old work headers of this mine. So, and the lights barely, it's so big that they hardly even do any good right here. So make our way on down. Okay, well, it's just up there where the light is. You can just see this is about a 25-foot drop down here. And that hole up there is a breakthrough into another upper work header. But you can see just how thick this ore seam. Now from floor to ceiling, that's a good 50 feet going up. So the light almost doesn't do any good. But anyway, you can just see how thick that ore seam. I mean, they worked these work headers for years, not just months, for years. There was so much ore. So this is like a canyon. You can see that's 50 feet up to the ceiling right there. And we're going to be, this just continues straight on through. So pretty remarkable what these guys did. But how they got at this, the rest of this ore right here, the floor of the work header up above is right there, and just right up there where the bright light's hitting it. So what they did is they came at the rest of the ore from these lower work headers, and they came in here and just basically hollowed this out to get the rest of the ore that was underneath that work header. So how they got up there, how they did all this, you know, there's pictures and stuff of them with the what they call the widowmakers, the pneumatic drills. And they would place the dynamite in there, but absolutely incredible. But anyway, we're gonna make our way on down through these the canyon, if you want to say, down towards the bottom here. Just stopping and checking out the work headers. So, all right, we'll just continue on. Okay, moving into this lower work header. And these right here were called pillars. The just like the coal mines, the ore mines, they mined on the room and pillar method. And this was before they got it. I mean, that was decades later they got into what was called the panel mining. But this was for roof support. Now, sometimes the whichever mining company was operating one of these mines, sometimes they would do what was called a retreating pillar method. Once they'd extracted all the necessary ore that they could, I wouldn't have wanted that job, but they would go in and extract the pillars. And because they were never coming back to this work header, and eventually the whole ceiling, you know, the whole work header would collapse because they were never coming back, but it was a way to get the extra ore, the red ore. So, but anyway, it's pretty impressive. This is about a 35-foot ceiling right here, this one. So, all right, and we're gonna make our way down through there, proceed on through to the next work header through that breakthrough right there. Okay, moved a little further down here. Negotiate transiting these breakthroughs. And going to be making just all we're doing is following this. Now, there are some sections of this most likely was a parallel manway to the slope. So, but they, you know, before all this shale and everything, the ceiling was probably 25, 30 feet high. So, anyway, we're going to just continue heading on down in this direction. Okay, move, drop down in through to another work header. And what you got here is some discarded sections of rails right here. They've been, it's just hard to say how old these rails are. They could be 100 years old, even more. But actually, they're in pretty good shape right here. So, and that right there was a chain for the mine carts right here. You can see that hook. So there's this joined the mine cars together right there. Not much left of that iron right there. So anyway, okay, and we're going to be pushing on, heading on down through these breakthroughs. Right here, So, some old timber supports right there. All right. You know, what's interesting here, that's a worn path right there. So you can see the miners back in the day. I mean, it still shows like they were just here. They were using this to transit in between the work headers up and down the slope. So all right. All right, we'll just reposition here. Take a look around. Okay, this is kind of like what a work header looks like without all that fallen shale coming up. So just this section right here. You can see the old wooden timber supports right here. That's some kind of piece of equipment right there. I'm not sure what that is. You know, that looks like a mount for a tripod. Huh. That would be for one of the, what they call the widowmakers. The pneumatic drill had 3 legs that the drill sat on. It almost looks like it. Huh. Interesting find. But anyway, we're going to proceed up and over down through the next breakthrough. Okay, got a nice wooden timber support right there. That's probably about 115 years old. So that goes down into a lower section. And you can see they had twin minecart tracks right here. One here, one there. You got a nice little stacked wall. Miners built. Not sure why, but they had a reason for it. So these work headers go back to 1910, 1915. And all those stacked rocks right there is what the miners called gobbing. Anything that they weren't going to haul up out of here, shale and whatnot, they used it. They just stacked walls instead of having to, you know, take it out as put it on a tailings pile. You can see somebody had some kind of fire going here or something. Could have had a blacksmith down here. I mean, definitely down below. So it almost kind of looks like this. You got some old hoist cable right there. Right there. And you've got nice stacked rock wall right here. And this is pretty unique right here. You don't get to see these every day. That is part of a pneumatic air drill in sections. That's what they call the widowmaker. You just try picking that up. It's heavy as all get out. And here's the other section to it right there. So very rare to even see one of these or even pieces of them in a mine. So possibly this one broke and they were trying to repair it and they just left it. So all right. Got some more rail sections here. Right here, this is kind of like could have been just a repair area. There's just a lot of stuff here on the ground. That is another part of one of those pneumatic air drills right there. So, but what is really interesting is that this is a miner's bench where they took breaks, I guess. So they made this, and they were down here. They took their breaks. Right here, you can see it's a bench right here. And that is a miner's shovel right there, the bottom half of it. And this wooden box is a dynamite box right there. So don't get to see a lot of those, and if you touch it, it'll just disintegrate. So, but yeah, this is where they took the breaks right here. So, still in place too. All right, we're gonna have a look around. Head through another breakthrough. Yeah, we're just moving further and further down the slope. Okay, this is another interesting find right here. This is evidently something that had hoist cable going through it. Got 3 hoist rollers. It's got that right there. It's almost like something you would see, you know, moving along the ceiling, you know. But anyway, pretty interesting. I have no idea what that is. That's a new one. So anyway, we'll just keep moving forward through here and keep heading towards the bottom. Okay, just came down through that passageway there, and this remains of another work header. And you can see the ore seam was thicker up top, but they didn't extract this. It could be probably another 10 feet below where the minecart rails were. It's just hard to say, but so that's another breakthrough we're going to transit. I push on through this, go to the other side real quick. But if you just follow these passageways, it'll take you all the way down, paralleling the main slope. Okay, this is another work header we've dropped down into. You can see the remains of the wooden cross ties have disintegrated. And so what that is there's shadows where they once sat. So you've got your rail sections here. There's more of them right here. You can see those are still joined up right there. That is a, if I recall, that's kind of like a frog switch or a connector where it would split into two separate rail lines like this is right here. So, and you've got more rails right here. That looks like an air compressor line right there. Yep, most likely is. Those thin pipes, most likely for the air, compressed air. Right there. That got the wooden timber supports right there, leaning over. Some of them have fallen. So, and you see that's remains of a 100-plus-year-old pine tree right there. They were working these things so fast, they didn't even strip the bark when they took it off. When they took it down, they just lopped off the branches, stuck it in here. So that's probably about 110, 15 years old. But of course, the tree is older. The tree could have been 12 years, 15 years for this thickness. So anyway, a lot of sections of rail here. You see all these wooden timber supports. They used to have timber supports lining the entire work header, paralleling the minecart tracks. And some of them are still standing. So we're going to make our way around and drop down through to the next work header. Okay, just drop down through that passageway. Remains of a wooden timber support here. Got more of the minecart tracks, sections of rails. And when you start to see that yellow cake that's corroded everything, covered everything, that means you're at the water line. So this right here is the water line. You cannot go any further. The rest of this mine, over 2 miles, 2 miles in length and over 2,000 feet deep, is flooded forever. So the water will rise and fall. And you can see some of the yellow cake right there where it just rises and falls according to the rainfall. And these are flooded because of deep underground aquifers that the miners encountered. Even, coal mines encountered the same thing. They had to keep that water. They had to keep pumping this water out 24 hours a day. Some of the mines averaged 2 million gallons a day with the water pumped out. That's hard to believe, 2 million gallons. But anyway, this is as far as you can go. And what we're going to do is make our way on back to the main slope. And after that, we'll just go ahead and start getting on up out of here. So just thought I'd drop down here just to... Don't want to get too close, man. You can slip, go right into the water. But this is what a flooded work header looks like right here. So, water's pretty clear. So, all right, we'll start making our way back around the corner and back to the main slope, and we'll go and conclude all this. Okay, so made it back to the main slope of the mine, down pretty far. You've got the water pipelines here, sections of rail, and what you got here is a rare thing. This is the self-acting tipple, where the mine cars were pushed into. In fact, if it was a little bit more upright, but it's in the exact spot. The minecart rails, once they left the tracks, would roll straight onto this. The wheels would lock into this, and it had it was very easy. The miners just tipped it over manually, and it went right into the waiting minecart below on the slope. So just to even see one of these things on mine, beyond rare. So anyway, got some more mine remains here. So we'll walk on down here to the flooded section of the slope mine, and then we'll just call it a day. Okay, so that is what a work header looks like for a skip car. They drop the slope, and that's where the self-acting tipple would have been. Would have just come out here on a kind of a ramp, rails on it, just dumped it right into the skip car, which would have been right here on the main tracks. So you get the water pipelines here. Actually got water running out of that pipe. Now that's kind of unusual. Let's loop back up. So ceiling's about 25, 30 feet tall, high in height. So have to watch where you step. All this was underwater recently. Okay, so this is the main slope that's flooded right here. And you can see that's one of the work headers over there with the pipe coming down out of it. And like I said, this water will rise and fall depending on the rainfall. And water pushing through these deep underground aquifers. And the water gets pushed up. So in certain seasons of the year, times of the year, the water can drop as much as 250, 300 feet, which would allow you to explore more of the mine. But this is about standard right here. So the water's it's pretty clear. So that's as far as you can go. Over 2 miles. Closing really almost 3, but who's counting, right? But about a little over 2,000 feet deep from the surface. So, but very historic. And that is a look back up right there.